Our next speaker, Natalie Sanandaji from New York, has a particularly harrowing story to tell. That dark Shabbat morning, Natalie was in Israel on a visit. She attended the Nova Music Festival near Kibbutz Re'im with a group of her friends. The rest of her terrifying ordeal that day, she will now tell you about herself. Natalie, please.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Sanandaji, and I am an American Jew born to Israeli and Iranian parents. Until recently, I was a fairly typical young Jewish woman living in New York City. But my life changed forever on October 7th, when I became a survivor of the Nova Music Festival massacre in Israel. Pure luck and circumstance are the reason I am alive and speaking to you here today. And I keep the memories of 1,200 innocent Israeli men, women, and children of all ages who were less fortunate close to my heart, knowing how easily I could have been among them that horrible morning. October 7th was the greatest tragedy experienced by the Jewish people since the Holocaust, which took place here in Europe more than 8 decades ago. And while I've given many speeches and interviews over the past month and a half, sharing my story here at this important gathering in Germany has a special meaning for me. I went to Israel this summer to attend a wedding and ended up extending my trip to be with family for the holidays. On October 7th, me and 3 friends traveled to the Nova Music Festival near Kibbutz Re'im. We arrived at around 1 a.m., and at 3 a.m. we decided to take a break from the dancing and get some rest. Our plan was to sleep for a few hours and wake up ready for the festival sunrise set. However, at 6:30 a.m., instead of waking up to the sound of the sunrise set music, we were woken up by the sound of rockets flying overhead. One of the girls from our campsite alerted us to what was going on and said, "Good morning, guys. I just wanted you to know a few rockets have been intercepted overhead, but it's fine. It's normal for the area that we're in, and it'll probably just be a few. I'm sure the party will continue, so don't worry." Now try to imagine this scenario anywhere else in the world, where music festival participants would react so calmly to rocket fire. It simply wouldn't happen. But Israelis are unfortunately accustomed to this grim reality. As the rocket fire continued and intensified, the festival security shut off the music and asked everyone to evacuate to their cars. My friends and I got in our car to drive away, but we soon realized that the danger we faced was much more than just a few rockets. After hearing the sound of nearby gunfire, we understood there were armed terrorists on the loose and we were being hunted. At that terrifying moment, I entered a state of shock and disassociation, which I still haven't fully emerged from even now. Disassociating was my mind's way of protecting me from the intensity of the situation. It was as if what was occurring wasn't actually happening to me. I was having an out-of-body experience. Upon hearing the gunfire, my friends and I fled our vehicle, which we later learned was destroyed, and began to run for our lives. We ran for hours, and we had no way of knowing which direction meant death and which meant safety. Someone who has interviewed many Holocaust survivors recently told me that when asked how they knew what choice to make in life or death situations, they described those decisions as choiceless choices. That is to say, there were moments when they didn't know what choice was going to save their life or get them killed, but they simply had to make a choice. This is a perfect description for the choices my friends and I made as we were running from the Hamas terrorists. After about 4 hours of on and off running, we didn't hear gunshots for a few minutes, and we decided to sit under a tree and get some shade and catch our breath with a number of other kids. We then noticed a white pickup truck, which seemed to have appeared out of nowhere, driving towards us. We all had the same instinctual reaction, and without saying a word, we stood up and contemplated running. And without saying a word, we all had the same realization that we had nowhere to run to. We all simultaneously sat down. At that moment, we accepted our fate. This was the end. We looked around at each other with a half smile, as if to say, "It was nice knowing you." Luckily for us, it wasn't a terrorist. Rather, it was a man from the nearby town of Patish who left the safety of his home and drove into the danger zone, heroically risking his own life to save our lives and the lives of countless others. I never had the chance to properly thank him or even get his name, because as soon as he dropped us off in Patish, he turned around to rescue more. I miraculously survived this ordeal, but more than 360 of my fellow Nova partygoers lost their lives that day in cruelly violent ways, with dozens of others kidnapped to Gaza. My life is now divided into two permanently. I will never be the same person after what I saw and felt on October 7th. Long Island, where I grew up, is home to one of the biggest Jewish communities in America, and I always felt safe displaying my Jewish identity with pride. My only past experience with fear over showing my Judaism was actually when I was visiting family friends in Europe, in France to be more specific, and they told me I should hide my Jewish star necklace when we were riding on a train. And I also saw someone do the anti-Semitic canal hand gesture. But over the past month and a half, since returning to the United States from Israel, I've noticed how things have changed there. For the first time in my life, I've seen my friends walking around in fear, tucking their Jewish star necklaces into their shirts, and removing their mezuzot from their doorways. Since October 7th, Jews have been attacked twice. First, by Hamas terrorists looking to slaughter as many Jews as possible. And then second, by the demonstrators who have taken to the streets worldwide to celebrate Hamas's barbarity and incite more violence against the Jewish people and state. This disturbing reality is why I've transformed my life and am now working with the Combat Antisemitism Movement, devoting all my energy to standing up to Jew hatred in all its modern-day forms. After what we endured on October 7th, I will never let victims of anti-Semitism be forgotten, wherever in the world they are. Never again is now, and I will do everything I can to ensure that no Jew has to suffer what I and so many others who are no longer with us went through on that dreadful day. Thank you, and Am Yisrael Chai.